It's been set up.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, here we are for a cybersecurity webinar. My name is Jim Basho, and this is Felisa Bunner.
Hello.
And I am with Stratus and Technologies, and Felisa, you are with USI.
USI, we are a commercial insurance brokerage. I work on the commercial side. We have other sectors that we do as well, but I focus on small commercial, which is why I'm here today. And I do specialize a bit in cyber liability. Been doing this for about 14 years. So that doesn't mean anything, though. This landscape is consistently changing. So I'm happy to be here and share a little bit more about what you can expect and ways that you can help protect your business.
Great. And so as I was saying, my name is Jim Basho. I'm with Stratus and Technologies. We began in January of 2012. For those of you that are just forming your businesses, I'm a little bit jealous. I've had a home-based business for the last 8 years, pretending to be a big business in a real office and not telling anybody I'm at home. But here we are inside of COVID, and it doesn't matter if you're at home, everybody is. So this is a great time to start a business and do that from home. So shall we get started with the slide deck?
I'm ready.
All righty. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here.
And as he's doing that, I want to invite those of you who are here to unmute yourselves, ask questions. We really want this to be a conversation between all of us. And so the more you interact on this, the more we can tailor this to you and your specific place and where you are, and we want to be the most beneficial we can. And since it's a small group, you know, we can definitely make more time to do that. So this is kind of what we thought would be the most impactful for you all to go through. We're gonna, you know, we've introduced ourselves. We're gonna ask you all to introduce yourselves here in just a little bit. Surprise! And then we're gonna talk about the cyber threat landscape, the trends that we're seeing as far as both what's happening and what it's costing. And some of those things, the financial impact of having cyber insurance, how that can help you, why small businesses are being targeted specifically right now, what that looks like, and the protections that can be put into place. And lastly, what a cyber liability policy that has a comprehensive scope looks like. Here's our contact information. We assume that there will be questions we can't get to today. And if that happens, we are happy to take calls and questions from you at a later time, and you have the bandwidth to do so. So I did warn you. We were going to ask you to give us a little bit of information about you. So please unmute yourself, and I can call on somebody if you'd like, but it would be great if somebody would volunteer to go first.
And you can unmute yourselves.
I'm Donna Collins. My company is Cascadia Residential Properties, and we manage condominium and homeowner associations in the mostly on the east side. And we do have many clients, and we do handle their accounting and administration, therefore financial matters as well. And that brings me to webinars like this.
Sure.
We've been around about 20 years, but things change. You have to keep up.
Sure. So is there anything in particular that brought you here today? Any particular thing you want to understand better that we can help you with in our time together?
I think I'd rather hold off on that. I don't know specifically if anything in particular.
That's fair. Who is next?
Hi, my name is Julia, and I haven't have my business yet, but I'm thinking to start, and I think it would be online business. So that's why this particular webinar and all previous webinars are very useful for me.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, I would like to know more about like nuances and details.
So when you say it's an online business, is this maybe a retail where somebody will be buying things?
It's more
in
like
virtual store?
it's more like digital marketing. It's more like services.
Great.
Yeah, online advertisement, in social media, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for being brave and interacting with us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
That's
I think
awesome. Go ahead.
we have one more on the line here, I think, maybe possibly, or am I?
The mysterious MH. Or not.
Or not. Okay. Well, if later, MH, you want to let us know a little bit more about you, we are all ears.
That's great. All right. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes about some of the best practices for a small business. I didn't tell Felisa beforehand that I was going to add this slide, but having seen who was going to be here, it seemed appropriate to add a couple of things. So one of the things, there were 22 people that were signed up for this webinar. And one of the things that struck me was the preponderance of free email addresses. Now, when we're bootstrapping a business and, using credit cards and borrowing from friends and family, and we're scraping together resources to hang a shingle and make our dream come true and put everything at risk, you're going to take advantage of everything you can that doesn't cost much, or even better if it's free and you can get stuff done. I completely get the mindset. And if we think about somebody who hands us a business card and it says, John at mustangsrus.com for his email address. And then we get another business card and it says slave for the Mustang at gmail.com. Those email addresses tell me something about those two businesses. One of them says this is a serious business that's intentionally being in business. They're serious about it. The other one sounds more like a hobby. So Gmail is great in that it's free, except as I'm saying on the slide here, free email isn't free because we lose business when people don't treat us like we're serious about what we're offering. And it's difficult to gauge how much that actually costs us. But one email interaction with a potential client can be worth thousands of dollars, as any of us know. So it's worth it to spend a little bit of money to buy an email domain or a custom domain to set up a website with. That domain is an asset for your business. And it's something that you can build your entire identity around. So I highly encourage you to take the step to set up a business email address other than Gmail. in your business with your IT, you're going to be doing online banking. You're going to have media collateral that you're going to create. You're going to have customer information. You're going to have information that people are entrusting you with, social security numbers potentially, credit card information potentially. Even just their contact information is something that you're now safekeeping on their behalf. Having automated offsite backups is a critical step. Any system that you put in place that requires your taking an action isn't a system. Systems work great as long as they don't involve people. So when we're looking at backups, we want something that happens automatically, whether you remember to do it or not. And that backup should be somewhere not in your office. So we're not talking about that external hard drive from Amazon. We're talking about a service that actually backs up your data from your computer to someplace far away from you. And then if something happens to your computer, that backup is not at risk. And we can recover all of your data from that backup and get you back up and running. Using a next generation artificial intelligence based antivirus. These are antivirus programs that don't require a daily download update of definitions for virus files. The problem with those is that if you have to wait for the next definition update, you're not going to get the ones that are out today. An antivirus that's based on artificial intelligence is able to see, you know, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. We're not going to let that happen on your computer. So next generation antivirus. Using secure file sharing tools. Dropbox is the ubiquitous product out there. Google Docs or Google Drive is another ubiquitous file sharing tool, but these things are not as secure as we'd like them to be. For the most part, they're not HIPAA compliant. I wouldn't be putting things like credit card information or social security numbers or things that you could be, you know, if you let them loose into the world, you could get in trouble for. I wouldn't keep them in those places. So look for a secure file sharing tool. Updates, do your updates. Do your updates. And then when you're getting emails sent to you, don't click on links for critical services. Like Bank of America sent you an email and they said, click here. Only when you clicked, it went to a website that looked like your Bank of America logon. And they happily collect your login credentials for your Bank of America website. And then they log you into the Bank of America website and you never know that they have your credentials. And now they have full access to your banking. Never open email attachments from unknown senders, or don't open emails that are like zip files from people even you know without picking up the phone and saying, hey, did you send me a zip file? Those are really great ways to set loose something dangerous on your computer. And,
hey, Jim, if I could add something.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So one of the things a few years ago, I had the honor of being umpire in chief for a local Little League, and we paid our junior umpires. And one of the situations that arose was that a junior umpire told the parents, hey, I never got paid. And what happened, and I said, well, the payment's been sent. And the next email I got back included not only the checking account number, not only the routing number, but the login and password to the account. I had full access, and folks' email is not secure. No matter, I mean, there are secure emails, but iCloud, Gmail, Hotmail, you name it, that is not secure email.
That's right.
And so
What
I
was your
immediately
trip to the Tulalip Casino after that email trail?
did. Well, I didn't do that, Duncan. I could have, but I didn't.
You're a Boy Scout. I get it.
But Jim is exactly right. That is the type of information you don't want to share via email unless you know it's secure. And there's ways of securing email out there, but you'd never want to send sensitive information via email. And if you send a link via email and it's not secured, if it's an open link, anyone can click on it. You never know what is sitting anywhere within the internet to grab that information and go click on the link.
Yep.
Because when I think about email, it's just like a post office. And I'm not going to get into all the troubles we're having with the post office, but that letter goes through random post offices, and it's no different than email. When it hits the next post office, there may be a cyber criminal with something on that post office that grabs the information. And unfortunately, then you become a victim of identity theft, or they get access to it. And having been a victim of identity theft, which you never want to be there, it really makes for a bad day. And folks, unless it's a very egregious identity theft, law enforcement is not going to help you. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that one.
The last item on there, thank you, Dean. The last item on there was, as always, grammar is a great indicator of a dangerous email, but it's not foolproof. And but if the grammar's wrong, there's a good chance this isn't a great place to be. So next slide. Everyone is a target. And the reason everyone is a target is because most of what's out there that makes you a target is an autonomous piece of software floating around replicating itself randomly. It's not like you are sitting there harboring nuclear weapons or $1 million in the bank and somebody said, gee, I need to hack Duncan because he's got all the goods. No, it's a random piece of software floating around. And somebody Duncan knew clicked on something they shouldn't, and all of a sudden Duncan's got an email in his inbox. It's random, and that makes everyone a target. And it's not a question of if your organization will be compromised, but when your organization will be compromised. You will be exposed to these threats. Anyone who tells you a cybersecurity solution is 100% effective is trying to sell you something. And it's not the truth. Even our products, I will not tell you are 100% effective. That's why I will tell you, you have to carry cyber insurance. Offline backups are a critical element to any cybersecurity strategy. If it doesn't include that, it's not complete. Almost every system works fine until you add human beings. That's exactly what I said earlier. And I'm going to show you a quick video here to kind of give you a sense of what it looks like when somebody decides to social engineer a company and create a campaign to accomplish a nefarious goal with that company. So I hope you enjoy this. Oops.
How did you decide to become a hacker?
Well, I'm not really sure what it means to become a hacker. That's like some guy in a hoodie who types really fast and stays up all night writing code and cracking passwords. It's not me. I just spy on people and see what makes them click. It's not a bad job.
Mark Hanning, CEO of Qualicart, set to report earnings after their blockbuster IPO.
So you consider this a job?
I put a lot of work into this. I'm not lazy. It takes research to figure out the key players, learn all about them, their families, their friends, what they care about. You have to understand the company's organization. I get a lot of my information from the sales department because they're always so quick and eager. They're hungry. People trust too easily. They don't look at the details. I do. Details matter. That's what I'm good at. It has to look completely believable. It has to look familiar. This is where research is important. It's not some generic piece of spam. It's an email from their boss with their company's signature. It's written in the voice of the boss. It's what he would say if he were writing this.
What about the malware itself? How does that work?
Somebody else out there already wrote all the code that does the actual attack. I'm just using it in the attachment. My skill is in my ability to get a bunch of people to click on that attachment. I always wonder what it's like when the whole thing unfolds on their end, when the panic sets in.
Please leave your message after the beep.
Hey, this is Rajiv in finance. Call me as soon as you get this. Something's up with my laptop. I can't.
Katie, are you on your way into the office? Something's going on with our file servers.
It's Karen in HR. Our benefits dashboard seems really slow. We're getting calls from users on it. Give me a call when you get this. Joining conference now.
Apparently, there's a malware attack targeting our main...
It's ransomware. They're holding us hostage.
We're locked out of everything. I can't even check my phone. What about the backup?
That will take days.
We need this fixed now. Pay it. We don't have a choice. We're reporting earnings in 2 hours.
But how do we know that they'll...
Pay it. Put every single person on getting us back up and running. That's the only priority now.
Okay, it's done.
I have the decrypt key. Mark, we have a big problem. The ransomware was just to distract us. They got inside. They got everything. Customer data, financials, everything.
Qualicards is reeling today from the news that hackers have released the personal information of nearly
The
2
Nasdaq
million
closed
customers.
lower today, led by Qualicard, which was down 14% on news that the recent data breach may be far worse than the company
Its stock
originally
fell
acknowledged.
to a new all-time low on news that CEO Mark Hanning is stepping down after what is turning out to be one of the worst breaches of personal information in recent history.
Do you feel bad about releasing the personal information? All the financials? All the money that was lost?
All I did was get the files. I'm not the one that decided to release them. I'm not the one that shorted the stock. Somebody else had their reasons for that. It's above my pay grade. I was paid to do a job, and I did it well. And that's what's expected of anyone, isn't it? Anyway, markets bounce back.
All righty. Go ahead, Felisa.
Well, that was very powerful, scary stuff. So thanks, Jim.
Put people in a nice mindset for thinking about what to do once that happens. So
Yeah.
that would be you. Go ahead.
Okay. So there are a couple of other things that are kind of going on right now to be aware of from a big picture standpoint as far as what's happening with cyber threats. So an FBI special agent investigating cyber intrusions stated that every American citizen should expect that all of their personal data has been stolen and is available on the dark web. If you paid attention to some of the much larger cyber issues that have happened, this is not far from true. Cybercrime, again, will cost $6 trillion annually by 2021, eclipsing the world's illegal drug trade as the most profitable illicit enterprise. Rampant incorporation of NSA-designed cyber weapons, such as Eternal Blue, exploit into ransomware worms, such as WannaCry and Petya. And we'll get a little bit into those a little bit later. Next slide, please. These are two statistics from Cybersecurity Ventures. They've predicted that businesses will fall victim to a ransomware attack every 14 seconds this year, and by next year, every 11 seconds. And global spending on cybersecurity will exceed $1 trillion cumulatively for the 5-year period between 2017 and 2021. Now, Jim, I noticed that video was copywritten in 2016. And it ended with a $1 billion estimate of costs.
Yeah, that was 4 years ago.
4 years ago. And this is where we're trending now. It went from 1 billion to 1 trillion. This is big business. Next slide, please. So what I'm going to show you here over the course of the next few slides is information that we've pulled from Chubb They are an insurance carrier that have been writing cyber insurance for the last 20 years, and they have the most robust data on how we sort of measure the costs associated, the types of claims. So if you want to look at something specific to your business, this can be highly customized, and it's available to everyone. If you go to chubbcyberindex.com, and I'll put this in the chat here in just a little bit, the link, so that you can look at it at your leisure. But what we're seeing here, the black is overall the kinds of increases that we've seen in claims. But we also see in 2016 to 2017, remember when we were talking about NotPetya and WannaCry, that's around when those NSA exploits started being used by bad actors. And you'll see ransomware and some other things have had a big impact on this 2017 to 2020 curve there. And that link is in the chat now for you if you want to review that more specifically later. Next slide, please. Here, we can show the difference in sort of the segment in industry. You'll see that small business is classified on this as anything under 25 million in annual revenues. And in 2017, the widespread worm attacks started. Now let's look at 2018. You see in the span of 1 year, small business, that purple line, moved to the second to highest here. This is a huge increase in ransomware being used. And oh, by the way, the GDPR took effect this time. So there's now more regulation trying to control it from the European nation, but it's definitely done a little bit of damage at this point. So let's see what 2019. All right, now small business is the biggest part of these exposures. Again, ransomware being the main culprit. So 2020, anybody have a guess what 2020 looks like? Well, small business is at the top of this. So we'll get to the reasons for that here, but I mean, if you see there under 2020, working from home is a big proponent, and a lot of the things that Jim laid out previously, those are the ways to start managing that risk and trying to put some controls in place to help. So, Jim, can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. Again, so this is still Chubb's data. This is talking about the causes that lead to incidents for cyber. That red aspect is really about social engineering. Jim, could you click one more? All right. So this is defined here as manipulation and exploits of humans. So when somebody gives you a call and asks you a little bit of information and says that there's somebody, you don't always know that that's who that is. In the video we were she was saying that she calls the sales department. They give a lot of information away because they want to earn business. This is where some of that information starts to formulate an idea. Hi, Elliot. Thanks for joining us. We may have to catch you up a little bit later, but we're talking just about information that we've pulled from Chubb. They're a commercial insurance carrier that have been writing cyber insurance for the last 20 years. So we're talking about right now the things that lead to incidents for cyber loss. So Jim, could you go to the next? Malware. This is, the actual software that's causing the ransomware claims. This is what's being
talking about malware and cyber.
yeah, this is what's being downloaded into a lot of different systems. It's one of the big things, and these are actually happening together. These can be these can happen on their own, and there is sort of a continuum on how these things can work together to really take something down if there's a targeted attack. Next. Hacking, and Jim has some pretty strong feelings about the term hacking and hacker. We often picture somebody in a hoodie in a dark room that may not have bathed for several days. And really what hacking ends up being is an exploit that is an automated response that a bad actor has put out into the ether. It's crawling along the web, and it's basically the software version of a hand in an office building checking every doorknob to see, you know, if one of them is unlocked. Errors. To Jim's point again, a system is perfect until you add people. We make mistakes, and those mistakes can lead to lots of things going wrong. And it has proven to be about 10% of the reason that we see cyber issues come about. Misuse, having administrative controls, locking down certain segments of access to information, definitely a factor there. And the other two, the physical aspect, and you know, there's always a percentage of who knows, that unknown part. But the physical things can be actual storms that can knock out power lines, knock out access to data, or can keep people away from their premises, and maybe when they get back, realize that maybe a server has been taken physically. So next, please. These are the actual claims costs, and this is in percentage. We'll see average costs on the next slide, but what you'll see is the forensics that go into determining whether or not there's been a breach tends to be where we see the most attention going to. The next is your third-party costs. Oop. Can we go back? Okay, thanks. So
next. I hit next. Go ahead.
Sorry. So the next biggest piece of that pie is other first-party costs, and you'll see here it's defining it as two things: business interruption costs and ransomware payments. So when you have a ransomware type of claim, most of the time it's somebody has gotten into the network, they've downloaded the malware, and now you are locked out of being able to do anything. And it can be several hours, it can be several days, it can be weeks. There are even governmental cities that have been locked out of their files for over 30 days. And in that amount of time, you still have to pay employees. You might have clients who you have promised to make deadlines, and you don't have access to any of the work that you've done because it's all on the network. Those kinds of costs compound over time, and business interruption is a key part of any cyber coverage to help make you whole so that you can continue paying those continuing costs while you're down. Not every insurance policy has a business interruption component, so it's something to be very, very aware of when you get to that part in your business. Then we have Incident Response Council. As part of what you want to be paying in the premium that you have for a cyber insurance policy should be a breach coach. Now that breach coach will be the first line of defense in that crisis response plan that we'll talk about in a little bit as well. And they're usually an attorney that knows who to get you in touch with to do the forensics accounting to determine if there's been a breach. And because they're a lawyer, there's more potential for that to be held in confidence. They're also the first person that will help you determine whether or not this was a true breach, or if it was just an incident, and how to help you through determining what that is. They will help you hire a PR person. There's a lot of different things that incident response counselor will help you with. And then we have the third party costs, which is any potential lawsuits that happen as a result of someone alleging a financial loss because of the hack that happened in your network. The others are notification, call center type of exposures, and we'll get into that in a little bit more. Credit monitoring, which is going to be part of any kind of notification, and then your PR and crisis response. Next slide, please. Now here we're getting into what the average cyber claims are that are paid. So a little bit different. A lot of these depend on how many records you have that may be exposed, but credit monitoring is the highest here, probably because of the amount of records on average that get exposed in one single breach. Next is forensics, which is going to be a part of any claim, because you have to determine what has been breached, because that will determine what kind of notification needs to happen. And these notifications, these are required by the Attorney General of each state, not where you perform your business, but where the people whose information might have been exploited live. So the next biggest one is the notification and call center. This is a third party that is hired and do full-time notifications based on what each state's attorney generals require for notification, so that you can stay in compliance. And if you're not in compliance, there are regulatory fines and penalties. Those regulatory fines and penalties can also be covered under an insurance policy as opposed to an out-of-pocket expense. So all of these numbers that are racking up, all of these bills, there are ways to help you finance that and transfer that risk to an insurance carrier. Then we have incident response and your counsel and your PR and crisis response. Still $21,000 and almost $10,000 are nothing to shy away from there. All right, so next, please. So why are small businesses targeted? And Jim, I think you can add plenty of color to some of this. But often when you're starting out, you probably don't have an IT budget. You probably have an email address. You might have an antivirus. But the capabilities of your small emerging business for cybersecurity is pretty limited in scope. And what you might have and what your biggest asset might be is an idea. And if that idea is fully fleshed out in an email to someone somewhere, your intellectual property could be your biggest risk. You may start acquiring employees, and those employees may have social security numbers that you have to keep on file for your business. You might have clients that pay you by credit card, and you might have a vendor that you do payment processing through. But that's still your data, and in the eyes of the law, even though you've transferred that out to a third party, you are still responsible if there's a breach from that third party. The centralized IT infrastructure, that one's definitely an emerging trend. We're seeing, even as recently as in September, more and more IT third-party vendors are being targeted because they have the keys to the kingdom. They are the first line of defense, and no one system is secure. There have been some hacks from those third parties that are exposing all of their clients. Staff training too. This is one of the things that can be available for discounts or included in the price that you would pay for a policy for training and education surrounding cyber hygiene.
That part I will step in real quick and just say, one of the funnest things I've realized in staff training is not the humdrum droning from the front of the room or droning on Zoom about staff training about cybersecurity, but to actually, in our phishing training, for instance, making it a competitive thing among the staff. Like, nobody clicked on that email except that one person, and that person gets like the dunce hat for the day or something, or you know, they keep track and they keep score over the quarter, and then the person who has the lowest score on not clicking on things, they get a Starbucks card at the end of the quarter or something. So finding a way to gamify training in general, but in particular on cybersecurity training, it's been a lot of fun to watch that happen among our clients. So go ahead, Felisa.
All right. Thanks for letting me know that the audio quality isn't so great. I hope it's a little better now, but let me know if it's not. I'll see what I can do. The last one is just, you know, management and challenges of running a business. You know, if you don't have backups in place and you don't have, you know, segmentation of where your office is and maybe where your data is stored. If you are using an IT vendor who is really only there for what's called break fix, so you basically reach out to them when there's a problem and then they go away, all of those things can leave you at risk. And just for your viewing pleasure, I'm putting another link in the chat here. This is a study that the Small Business Association did with NIST, which is a framework for cybersecurity that focuses on smaller businesses. So these are some case studies that might be helpful in understanding some of the things that could arise. So next slide, please. Again, these are just some of the things that we see often for small enterprises. Posting of private documents online. It happens. Sometimes you click the wrong box and something that was encrypted on your website now becomes publicly available. Ransomware and cyber extortion, we could talk about it nauseum. But if you want to talk about it some more, I'd be happy to. Unauthorized access or release of information. Now, this one has been what most ransomware and cyber extortion firms have done to entice companies to pay. They'll issue or they'll release something on WikiLeaks or on the dark web that shows what kind of information they have. They might redact some things, but this is definitely right. This is a breach once this information is out for the public to see. Lost laptops, smartphones, thumb drives. This has been really the name of the game since a lot of it started. Was this is what started most breaches, was somebody didn't encrypt well enough, or left data out. And then data destruction by insiders and rogue employees. It's another avenue. You guys might have heard about the AT&T call center in Bothell. Someone had been paid to download ransomware. This was an employee that downloaded, malware that allowed outsiders into the network, and they were in that network for over a year. And I can't remember exactly how long they were in there before it was discovered. But it was a pretty big issue when all was said and done. Next, please.
Just as a heads up, there are 8 more slides and 10 more minutes.
Okay. So, all right. So let's get to the point.
But here we are.
Here we are. So if we leave you with nothing else, I want you all to have this slide in mind. This is what can be done. These are the things that can be done to help you weather the storm, stay resilient, and have a place to start. So first, what are your assets? Where do they live? What information is there, and what information is critical to your business? That's all part of investing in your IT assets. If you're working with a third-party IT vendor like Jim, these are the kinds of things he's going to need to know so that he can help you protect that information. Business continuity plan, crisis response plan, these are things that you would do anyway in a business to stay resilient if you had a natural disaster. We talked about staff training. We talked about implementing security policies and procedures. And then at the end of everything else, there's transferring your risk to insurance. So the next part of this is going to be, what specifically an insurance policy might look like. These are the kinds of things that you're going to want to see on a commercial insurance policy. So what you have most of the time is an endorsement on a general liability policy that might provide a little bit of data breach, and that limit might be 10,000. It's a very small amount, and as you saw from the previous slides about what kind of costs of claims come from simply forensics costs, it's usually not enough. So having a separate policy that has these different sections within it is really what's going to help you transfer that risk and not go out of pocket if something were to happen. So we'll very quickly go into these next 3 slides. There's 3 parts of that to be aware of. There's the reimbursement coverages. These are going to be things like your crisis response, your paying of your ransoms, hiring the right people to help you through that process, and paying off regulators, not paying off, but paying them because they're going to be fining you. This is all above board, except for maybe paying the ransomware or the ransoms, which we can have another hour-and-a-half long discussion about. Next slide, please. There's the first party insurance agreements. These are the things that pay you when you're going through a difficult time. The business interruption that we talked about before, damage to your network because somebody got in there. And especially with those denial of service attacks, those can do a lot of harm to your network that have to be repaired and to keep you from bleeding more data through what's already been exposed. Next slide, please. These last ones are really about defending yourself from claims when things go to court or things turn a little bit ugly. And someone is saying that your breach caused them a financial loss. Next, please. Vulnerability assessments, we do have carriers that will do this as part of the quoting process. Not only are they benchmarking where you are in your cyber hygiene, they provide recommendations. They will go through and look at what emails are exposed on the dark web and help you by detecting these vulnerabilities so that you can learn and speak with your IT professional on how to close those gaps. Next, please. And these services, DDoS mitigation, ransomware prevention, threat monitoring, and patch managing, these are all services that come free to policyholders that are initiated by your insurance carrier. I think most people who buy insurance, most companies, I think 15% of them are really interacting with some of these pre-breach things. You as new to business, I really encourage you to call those pre-breach numbers that come in on your policy, go through those motions. This is a real threat to your business, and these are free. There's no risk to you by going through those. And I believe we are at the end of this. Oh, okay, never mind. One last thing. A lot of people think that insurance is too expensive. They think that they are immune. They think that it couldn't happen to them. And they also think that they're hiring other people to handle this for them, and so they don't need to be involved. And all of those are unfortunately false. These will still come back to haunt you if you have not protected yourself.
Our client contracts actually require our customers to carry cyber insurance. So that is the degree to which no system is 100% foolproof. So, and I think this is the slide you were looking for next.
Yes. Thank you, Jim. So we just fed you through a fire hose. So if you have questions, you can feel free to reach out to us either by phone or email. But we also have a couple minutes here if anybody wants to ask any questions.
Maybe we can hear what MH's solution is like. Go ahead, Julie.
So you mentioned in the beginning that Gmail and free email services are not safe, not secure. What email services do you recommend aside from corporate email services?
Well, Office 365 is available to large companies, as I'm sure you're aware, but it's also completely appropriate for somebody with a laptop on their dining room table. So that's certainly one product that we prefer in our company.
Which one?
Office 365 through Microsoft.
Oh yeah, it's like Microsoft Office, part of Microsoft Office, right?
It's a related product, yes. Another product that people will go to is the paid version of Gmail, known as G Suite. G Suite. And when you're mostly what the takeaway is the email services that are free own the content, and you're willing to accept advertising with that free service. So what you're paying is your attention and your marketing value for them.
A Microsoft Office actually is not free.
That's correct. Office 365 can be obtained for as low as $12.50 a month, and that would include the actual Office software. And that's a legitimate business grade software and email package. And that's Microsoft's published price is $12.50 a month plus tax.
Okay. How about this email services that hosting companies provide? When you purchase the website and hosting, they provide you with email service. Are that safe?
There are pros and cons for a lot of those hosted email services. For the most part, they're not an exchange-based email. More commonly, you'll run into what's known as POP or IMAP.
Okay.
POP and IMAP aren't nearly as robust as Exchange. They're not as resilient. And if you change something in your inbox on your phone on a POP account, it won't be the same way on your laptop or your desktop or webmail or what have you. So synchronization doesn't happen in those accounts. And I'm happy to type in those other account types. So
Okay, thank you.
any other questions? MH, do you care to let us hear your voice for a second at least? Or Elliot, did you have any questions? Duncan, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
I think we're near the top of the hour and the end of our time. We're going to turn into pumpkins or something.
Okay. One of the questions came in if you'd be interested in having the attendees and even those who weren't with us receive this as a PDF.
Receive the
Your
recording.
presentation. Are you comfortable with your slides being shared or not?
I don't have a problem with that. Do you, Lisa?
No, most of it is, well, it's all publicly available information. I don't own the ideas within it.
if between the two of you, you'd like to send that to either Dean or myself, then we'll make sure that the folks get it. And it's been recorded and that'll be posted later on. So I just wanted to clarify that.
If I could just say one last thing, I put one last link in here for the US CERT. It's for the cyber resilience review. It is a free cyber assessment, and it is very robust and locked down quite a bit. There's a lot of immunities to providing the information there, and it is also a great place to start in determining what your cyber hygiene is.
So I will put our slide deck into a PDF file and send that to Dean, who will get it to you, Duncan. Does that work?
Sounds like a plan. Yep.
Okay, great. Last chance for questions. All right, well, Duncan, thank you very much for putting this together for us.
Thank you both.
It
was wonderful info, and I agree, sipping from a fire hose, but the PDF will help. People can then go through it at their leisure and hopefully funnel even more questions to you too. So thank you for.
The funny thing is that was just a taster spoon for what we wanted to say. So.
We really pared this down, believe it or not.
Oh, you got a taster spoon. We had a triple scoop ready for you. So great. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So is it last webinar?
This is the last scheduled webinar in this fall series. We may reschedule the e-commerce and marketing one. The speaker wasn't able to join us on the scheduled day, so we're trying to get that one put up. If we do, we'll send that to everybody who had pre-registered for it. But this is the last official one in the series.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.